Hi folks! In today's episode we're going to have a closer look at the Moorings 5000, also known as the Leopard 50 Catamaran. This is the charter version with 4 cabins that we chartered for a week in Saint Lucia, and we sailed 200 nautical miles to Tobago Keys and back. Here she is on a mooring ball in beautiful Marigold Bay.
There was almost a full contingent on the boat with 7 adult persons, full provisioning for a week, and a full spectrum of weather conditions from no wind motor sailing to almost 30 knots in choppy seas to running from squalls and heavy rain. We'll give you our likes and dislikes of our favorite charter boat so far in our various charters, but we'll also talk about why this boat reaffirms our choice to go with the Kinetic 54 and specific features that we chose based on what we liked about the Robertson and Kane Catamaran, or what was missing from this boat.
We also think that the charter experience has given us a good idea of what it is like to both sail and live aboard different catamaran sizes and formats for more than just a day or two. This certainly will not be the last boat we'll get a chance to sail before we get our dream boat, Sphyrna.
So come along with us on today's adventure.
Welcome to Second Wind Adventures, where we start the next chapter in our life, where retirement can be fun, exciting, and challenging.
Follow along with us as we continue to transition from our regular full-time work life to a more flexible lifestyle that includes cottage living, adventure travel, and our dream to circumnavigate the globe on a sailing catamaran.
This is us, Alina and Monty. We would love if you joined us so that we can share with you the trials of achieving our goals.
Okay, so once again in today's video we're going to be covering our likes and dislikes of this charter catamaran, the Moorings 5000, also known as the Leopard 50 when it's under a different brand for Leopard. So first let us say this is one of the more preferred formats in terms of charter boats that we've been on. So you know, we want to come out of the gate saying that we do like this boat. But what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about the differences between this boat and Sphyrna, which we're having built by Kinetic, and some of the reasons why, you know, some of the things that we, I guess, have on a charter boat we want to change on our boat because they either drive us crazy or it's not something which we really want. And you know, for us it's just a matter of preference if we're going to have an apartment on the water. And certainly you know, for a charter boat this is a great boat. So
No, we were actually quite impressed. It was actually really nice, very spacious. Yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we do like about this, since this is a Moorings 50 footer, you know, it's going to be very similar in size and in handling, at least in close quarters and at the dock to our boat, which is going to be a 54.
Yeah, we were actually excited to take this boat because this is one of the largest ones we've been on, and it's closer to the 54-foot boat that we're gonna have. So it was actually good to get to feel a 50-foot boat.
Sorry about that slipping camera gimbal. Still getting used to that Ronin Mini. Anyway, let's start in the cockpit of the Moorings boat. Here we are underway with 7 people, and look at the space. Everyone has their own space. Nothing is crammed, but there's ample sized table for everyone to gather together for a meal, card game, or to discuss the next day's passage plan. The size of the boat with this much living space is what we want for either when it's just ourselves or when we have a full contingent of friends and family aboard. Note that there is almost the same size table in the salon as there is outside in the cockpit.
I would say that the table space was almost redundant, as we realized that we rarely use the inside table or both simultaneously. This leads us to think that it would probably be better to have smaller tables and more empty floor space in case we wanted, you know, clear areas for exercise, yoga, or, you know, to keep our bike trainers, or just simply standing area for chatting during onboard parties. I guess longer but smaller rectangular tables like what we have in the Kinetic would probably give us better space utilization for these purposes.
Contrast this to a 44-foot Fontaine Pajot that we chartered. You can see that it is still usable, but much tighter and, in our opinion, almost inadequate for more than 6 adult persons. I don't think we even used the interior salon of that FP that entire week we had the boat, as basically we only used the cockpit area and settee, even when the weather was rainy and cool outside. I think that given the space sacrifice of an internal forward center helm on our Kinetic, we would be okay with a smaller inner salon sitting area, even though it's actually not that small.
So given the similar cockpit and salon size, take a look at the layout of the Kinetic. The tables are narrower and convertible to bed space both inside and out in the cockpit. And with the larger clear floor space, there's lots of space for yoga mats or, even just for 2 people to pass each other shoulder to shoulder. Notice the movable seating around the table and table extension flaps when we need it. We also have the 4-door option to be able to really open up the salon to cockpit area into one big space. We're actually at the very top of the boat right now. And I have to say, this also reinforced what we originally thought, that this is going to be way too hot. Having a sitting area here, I think, looks good in a magazine. However, we barely spent any time up here. We're here now just because of this video, but it's just so hot. There's no way that you can enjoy this area for any length of time. We actually did have a drink last night when it was cool and it was late in the evening, but again, this area looks good on paper, but in reality it's definitely way too hot to be enjoyed. Don't you agree?
Yeah, well, I think one of the things that we should point out as well is we're basically using on our boat this entire area as solar, for solar, and our 4100 kilowatts of solar is going to be up here.
I think that makes sense, a lot more sense.
And so we give up one sun tanning area. We still have others on the Kinetic, but this is it's nice when you have a charter to sit up here in the evenings. And don't get me wrong, it has its pleasant moments, and
but very few, right?
Yeah, for us, we don't want to spend that much time out in the sun, so it's nice, but not really for us. And you'll see some of the other folks lying around up here, but right now it's not a thing we want for our own boat. So there's some of the cracks in the fabric.
And then this table, I think, I don't know, people maybe stepped on it, but you see cracks here, cracks here. Yeah.
Otherwise, it is a nice place to lounge around. You have a sun pad there underneath the boom, and it's not a lot of solar.
Really good. early in the morning, I come here to yoga. I think that's probably a good spot to do that.
Now let's talk about the forward cockpit. Here's a time-lapse video of us underway motor sailing. Notice that the access way through the front cockpit becomes the main passageway between the interior and aft of the boat up to the front. Unless you're going directly from the raised bulkhead helm up to the forward area, most people are kept safe off the side rails of the boat. It also turned the area in the foredeck into a primary lookout and lounge area with the best view forward of where we're headed. Especially if you had something in your hands, this became the preferred path forward. Most crew felt safer and more steady passing through the center line of the boat.
Now, if this was a working cockpit, like on our Kinetic, access to the foredeck for head sail changes or reefing would also be accessed through the forward cockpit passageway. Anyone Going forward for anchoring or catching a mooring ball will also go through this area. When underway, the forward cockpit became the preferred location for hanging out while keeping an eye forward on our next destination. And the additional feature that the Moorings boat has is an extended coach roof, which provides a considerable amount of shade while at the same time providing a nice breezy location for keeping cool.
Okay, we're here in the helm position of this Leopard 50. It's a bulkhead or upper bulkhead helm. There's just a single one here. And I do have to say that the helm position on this Leopard 50 offers a fairly good view forward, and another added benefit is the fact that it seems to have the least amount of motion when you're up here and steering, and we got busy sea state and we're rocking and rolling. It seems to be a good place to be. So the other nice thing about this helm position is that it's fairly high up. It's got a good view. You can see the back corners as well fairly well. The disadvantage, I think, is that it's just a single helm position, so you don't have any options to go on the port side or the starboard side. It's just here on the starboard side. And one of the things we notice, actually, especially when we're underway, is the fact that even though it's got a hard top on it, you're going to take a lot of sun from the side. Unless the sun's directly above you, we found that the right side of our body, including our legs, we're basically getting seared from the sun. So
scorching off.
Yeah, so it does offer some protection, but it's still not full protection, especially if you're heading either late in the day or early in the morning, and the sun's coming at you from the side or from the back quarter. Then you're gonna take a lot of sun on you from the side opening over here. Otherwise, it is a fairly good position. A lot of the winches and the controls are right here at the helm. So unlike our center forward working area, this kind of does it all here in one spot on the bulkhead.
Yeah, visibility is okay, right? I think we're okay looking at the telltales from here. So all in all, I think not bad.
When
not
you're
bad.
trimming the sails. Yeah. Okay.
In this next shot, this shows one of the moorings crew backing the boat into a slip. And you'll notice that the bulkhead helm is not the most ideal vantage point nor position to be doing this from. So when we have optional rear helms in our Kinetic with repeated port and starboard engine controls, this will be a much better vantage point from either corner of the stern, and access to the mooring lines at the stern will be much better. We will also have dockmate and a bow thruster to assist with docking and mooring as well.
So the galley is pretty standard, I would say. Not a lot of counter space. I am happy we're getting a U-shaped galley. I think that's going to maximize our counter space. There's a fridge, freezer, another freezer there, and a fridge for the drinks outside. It's okay. I cannot really say I'm crazy about this galley. It's got the, you know, usual storage areas in the floor. But again, I find that it's just not maximizing the potential, you know, counter space here. The trade-off is, you know, you have less, you know, counter space, more sort of open area here, which is great. But again, I think priority should be given to counter space and also storage. I also found that we didn't have enough storage here, even with, you know, the little supplies we had for this 1 week long trip. You know, the table here is nice. This one, you know, extends and you can make it a little larger. You have, you know, storage area inside the sitting area here. This one collapses, the table collapses, so you can, you know, use this as a sleeping quarters at night. And what else? The nav station here. Again, nothing really out of the ordinary. It's fine. It's pretty standard. You'll see the quality, you know, the lamination here, the, you know, the angles are a little bit sharp here. Not the greatest workmanship and quality. Again, this is a, you know, production boat. And the other thing, you know, the little lip even there, you know, just to kind of have things a little bit more secure. I think I would like that, and also softer edges here. But
The counters?
yeah, with the counters as well. Yeah. So all in all, you know, not bad. You have your so it's a large sink here, which is great, and you know, the usual, you know, you can
Double
try
sink,
yeah, that's pretty standard. So yeah, it's okay.
And of course,
Okay.
this is a gas cooktop. Well, will be totally electric in our galley. Okay.
So in the Kinetic galley, you can see how the sink is moved aft to line up with the cockpit settee. Ours again will be U-shaped, but we will still maintain the large space down the middle of the boat with plenty of space to move forward and rearward.
Okay, as we sit here, passing Les Pitons once again in the background. You can see it's a little bit cloud covered today, and there's virtually no wind, so we're just motoring back to actually going up to Marigot Bay where we're going to check in.
And remember, we know how the pitons were formed.
Yeah, now that we've got the lesson in volcanology or geologically, you know, now that we're geologically inclined and so forth. So, yeah, we want to talk about a couple of things now. Now that we've been on this boat for, you know, 5 days, and after spending quite a few nights and sort of experiencing the way this boat has been set up, I just want to cover a couple of things. The first of which is the fact that this boat has lead acid batteries for house batteries and for running the various different appliances and systems on the boat. And
lead acid batteries.
yeah, so just want to talk about the lead acid house batteries. We've noticed that they, in combination with the generator, you know, we've been draining them a couple of different ways. One, which is through the autopilot, which we've run quite a lot during the sailing hours, and now also, even though we're running the engine, which is powering a lot of the systems through the alternators. When we don't have the engines on, we're draining the batteries pretty quickly, and then in the evenings, we're using the generator to power the air conditioning units.
We didn't use it that much. I have to say it was probably, the AC was on for maybe between an hour and a half and 2 max at night.
Yeah, well,
And we would turn it off, and then maybe during the night we had the fan, those little fans in each staterooms that were on during the night. And what we found is early in the morning, whoever got up and tried to make coffee, the batteries were so drained that we'd have the alarm go off, and then, you know, we'd have to start the generator, and of course waking everyone up on the boat, which was a little bit annoying, I would say.
Yeah. Well, in short, I think one of the things that we'd like to have, obviously we're going to get on our boat, is lithium-ion batteries, and quite a large bank of them. So one of the things we want to accomplish is not have to run a generator. So we want to run off an inverter, or a pair of inverters, depending on how we split up the power, to hopefully run all the systems, whether it be the electric cooktop, the refrigerators, the autopilot, the air conditioning, hopefully through most of the night, and be able to then charge that through solar during the day, or if there's not a lot of sun, then running the alternators on the engines should be enough to charge, we're hoping, the lithium-ion battery bank. So, you know, it's nice to have all these bells and whistles on a charter boat like this, and I understand, you know, from a cost perspective, it may be more cost prohibitive to have to move to lithium-ion, but certainly running the generator, you know, going off the house batteries has its limitations, and though it's fine for a 1-week charter, I think when we're out here at sea for an extended period of time, it would be nice to have a much cleaner and also self-sustaining environment using lithium-ion batteries. Right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. The other thing just want to mention is the autopilot and the instrumentation. I think, well, this boat doesn't have AIS or radar, so we can't see other boats. We did come up on a cruise ship, but we could only visually sight it, and you know, we thought it would come into our path, but it didn't. But I guess if there was inclement weather, it would be nice to be able to track AIS using AIS, other boats, and of course also radar to help gauge where those boats that don't have AIS are. So that's another, I guess, you know, safety feature that we'd like to have for navigational purposes, and of course collision avoidance on our boat. What else is there? I think the rooms have been very comfortable. I've been sleeping amazingly on this boat, even though it's got a little stuffy once we turn off the air conditioning. Opening up the windows and hatches and allowing the airflow has been adequate. Even though we're not in the heat of summer right now, it's basically April down here in the Caribbean, so it's not super hot yet, although we're also about to enter hurricane season in June. So I think what's important to mention about the hatches is that for a couple of the cabins here, it's nice to have the forward-facing cabin hatches near the front of the cabin to scoop the air, and then the rear-facing hatches near the back of the cabin to let the air flow all the way through. And like in our cabin, which is a master cabin, it's been fairly good. And I think your cabin, Isabel, has been pretty good too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So don't know about the others. I think the port rear cabin is a little bit stuffy because the hatch is actually behind the bulkhead, so it's actually blocked from any ability to scoop air into
and
the
on
system.
our site, it's actually just underneath the pump station, so it's it was okay with the airflow. Not ideal, but okay. Yeah. And then I think we're gonna talk about the water maker.
Yeah, there's a bunch of boat boys. I wonder what they want. Anyway, no. Daddy's blessings. Anyway, let's ignore them. Okay, so what else are we going to talk about?
The water maker?
Yeah, the water maker. We have a water maker on this boat, so that's been convenient. We've been monitoring the water levels, so the 2 tanks, 1 port, 1 starboard, and we've been balancing between the 2. So having a water maker has been very convenient. Haven't been using it from drinking, but we have been using the water maker for various different things, showers, washing dishes, so, you know, other day-to-day things for the heads. And and by the way, the heads are fresh water, so it's been fairly pleasant in the heads, not having the salt water stink.
It's not that pungent
it's not bad
as
at
it
all.
sometimes is when you have salt water. Yeah. Is there anything else?
Yeah. Well, I think that that's about it for now. Maybe when we think of something else we can add something.
Just a short note on performance on this Moorings 5000. On the way south, we had fairly strong winds on the beam between 20 to 25 knots, gusting to 30. With one reef in the main and jib, we averaged about 8 to almost 10 knots during our main passages. We made good time, better than I actually thought we would, but we did notice that we had quite a bit of weather helm during gusts where the boat wanted to turn into the wind. While our short experience test, sailing the Kinetic 54 in Annapolis, that boat just accelerated through major gusts, and the weather helm was very minimal. In fact, most of the time, unless we were looking at the speed over ground indicator, it seemed like we were not going very fast at all, even though we easily hit 18 knots. We can't really compare apples to apples, as the charter sail plan was considerably smaller than the Kinetic sail plan, especially with the large overlapping head sail. But it's good to know that the Kinetic is designed to sail very well and efficiently in all wind conditions and strengths.
Okay, so one other thing that we've noticed, it's not so bad today because there's no wind and very little current, is that the autopilot, which we have on now, tends to buck a lot, and it makes
an awful sound.
it makes it like a big rattling sound. So I don't know whether it's just the steering assembly is loose or
Yeah, you guys tried to
something,
fix it, and you actually.
but we tightened up the nut here, yeah.
And, but it's still
Didn't
making.
seem to work. Oh, there it is. But it was really bad the other day when we were crossing the channel between St. Vincent and Saint Lucia, where we had a lot of current, a lot of wind, and big waves. So it was making a racket at that time. So anyway, just there's something about the autopilot on this charter.
Yeah, let's see if we can capture the sound.
I don't know if it's going to do it again.
Well, we're a little current, I think, now.
Okay.
Just wait. Of course, we're gonna turn it off, and then it's gonna. Now with the wind, maybe now.
No, nothing. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we're packing now, and I'm trying to close the door so I can change my clothes. And I think I mentioned earlier that this is so goddamn hard.
Language.
Oh, I'm sorry. Ah!
Oh, gee. Nice noise.
Okay, so that's closed. Okay, and if I wanted to open it, now I know
Open
this
it.
doesn't make it easy because I messed up my fingers, but
Pet peeve.
I do this like 3-4 times. I got my upper body workout for the day. Let me tell you, I don't know who came up with this, but you're basically moving the whole closet over. And then with the moisture, I think it gets so, like it expands and it makes it even harder to open. This has been a nightmare. I dreaded opening and closing it every day. And then in the morning, if I'm the first one to go make coffee, everybody hears me.
I know.
Oh,
It's okay.
this was really bad.
It is a rental. Don't worry. Don't worry. Easy.
Anyway.
Easy. Okay, a minute and a half of ranting is good. Thank you.
So that's it for this week. Stay tuned for our next episode where we're going to cover a little bit more on the cottage and another family member that hasn't been introduced yet. So once again, thanks for watching.
See you soon.